You know, if there's one guy in the entire industry that knows how to get people talking, it is CM Punk. And last night, right before Monday Night Raw, the entire IWC on social media was in a frenzy because CM Punk showed up backstage in Chicago at the Allstate Arena for Monday Night Raw. A lot of people wondered why he was there. Why is CM Punk there? People were throwing out their conspiracy theories. Oh, he's leaving AEW. He's interested in making a return to WWE. And all these other narratives that were being thrown out there. I looked at it from head on and I said to myself, okay, CM Punk lives in Chicago. He has friends that work there. He is contracted to AEW, many more years on his contract. They're building a new show around him that's going to make AEW a lot of money. It's been a very publicized fallout with the company and a very publicized and anticipated return for a second time in 2 years. Why would he risk throwing that all away to go back to WWE? Nothing really made sense, but people were spewing their narratives anyway. Now we got the entire story. If you guys don't know what happened last night, let's catch up on what happened. CM Punk showed up at Monday Night Raw last night backstage. He was eventually kicked out of the Allstate Arena by Jim Kelly, WWE's head of security, which was obviously a situation that Vince McMahon caught wind of, and then it worked its way down. He spoke to The Miz. There was a video on social media where he was in the parking lot talking to Tamina. He wanted a couple of minutes of Triple H's time. I believe the report said he shook Triple H's hand. I don't know what his intention was, but head on, like I said, publicity stunt. He knew people were going to catch wind of this and get talking. And that's what CM Punk does. Hey, maybe people will talk about this and I can rile up the IWC and rile up pro wrestling again because I'm coming back to AEW. A lot of people initially thought that CM Punk was at Raw because he wanted to return. False. And this is where Meltzer gets into trouble. Because Meltzer talked about this. Brian Alvarez talked about this. And I know Brian Alvarez is better than this, but this is typical Dave Meltzer. On the Observer Live, Meltzer and Alvarez noted that a lot of people in WWE and AEW were surprised to see CM Punk. There are also people in WWE that believe he was testing the waters to see how welcome he really was in WWE. Meltzer says, and I quote, apparently, he flew from Florida to Chicago on a flight with a lot of talent. He talked to Paul Levesque, who is the chief content officer of WWE. That was the main guy he talked to. People were very surprised on both ends. Brian Alvarez then chimed in and said people were surprised in WWE. Meltzer said very surprised in WWE. Brian Alvarez then added people were surprised in AEW. As they should be. They don't want their number one guy over on enemy lines. Meltzer then says the feeling in WWE was that he was there because he wanted to be back. False. And I'll get to that in a second. Whether that's true or not, I have no idea. There were talks of him going back shortly, late last year, but he couldn't go because he was still under contract. My impression is that with Paul Levesque in charge and not Vince, obviously it would be a little bit more open for him to go back there. I don't think Punk would go back there with Vince McMahon completely in charge, but one way or another, Vince is still in charge. My impression was that they didn't have any interest in him at that time. You can see that, Meltzer doesn't really do himself any favors here. And I'm going to cycle back to this in just a little bit, but he just threw that narrative out there. Oh, yeah, maybe he wants to be back. People were talking, he wants to be back in WWE. You don't know that. Well, why would anybody? And it's very wrong for someone to go out there and report something like that because nobody knows that but Phil Brooks. Nobody knows what CM Punk wants to do but CM Punk. You can't go out there and say, yeah, Punk, he wants to be back in WWE. Did you ask him personally? Nobody in the back that knows him, nobody that worked with him in the past knows what he's thinking. You can't go out there and say, yeah, CM Punk was there because he wants to be back in WWE. No. Maybe he does after his AEW run is over. Maybe he wants to make amends for something that will happen later in the future, but you can't say that now without talking to CM Punk directly. So this is where Meltzer gets himself into trouble. Add this to the list of things that CM Punk doesn't like about Dave Meltzer. Then Mike Johnson of PW Insider reports that CM Punk is not trying to get back to WWE, and he gave the reasons why he was at Monday Night Raw, and things became a lot clearer after Mike Johnson went out there and reported what the reason why he was there was. This is what Meltzer should be doing. This is not what Meltzer's doing. PW Insider had a detailed report as follows. Punk flew in with WWE talent from Florida as he was doing commentary for Cage Fury Fighting Championship over the weekend, and just so happened to be on the same flight with WWE crew. On the flight, he found that WWE was in Chicago, close to his home. He arrived at the venue with other WWE stars, so that's how he got into the building and remained in the common area in full view of anyone who walked by. He was never in a private room. They shook hands. Regarding his chat with Triple H, Punk asked if it was all right if he was there and if Triple H had time so that they could talk for 2 minutes. Triple H allegedly said that he had to make sure with the big guy, which we all know is Vince McMahon, if Vince McMahon was okay with it, that he was there. Punk stayed in the area the entire time and talked with several wrestlers who were walking into the building. Within 20 minutes, security told Punk to leave, and Punk did so respectfully. Reportedly a decision that came from Vince McMahon to WWE's head of security, Jim Kelly, and then Punk was escorted out of the building. Although there was a belief that Punk was asked to leave because he was under AEW contract, one source pointed out that other AEW stars such as Malachi Black and Andrade were allowed backstage with their wives at the WWE Hall of Fame recently. Another source stated that Punk is in a different situation because of his legal history with World Wrestling Entertainment. The report also noted, for those who have asked if this was Punk trying to gauge interest in WWE, we were told no, says PW Insider. Punk still has lengthy time left on his contract. He can't negotiate with WWE at this point and is reportedly slated to return on June 17th in Chicago at the United Center for AEW's debut of Collision. So he will not should be showing any interest in going back to WWE. The report noted also one person under contract to WWE who saw Punk there said it came off as if Punk was trying to kill whatever past heat there was between himself and Miz, and theorized that may have been why he wanted to speak with Paul Levesque as well. End quote. I don't know why anybody is spinning this into a negative story. That's it. Punk was there, flew with wrestlers because he had a job to do with another promotion doing commentary. He found out that WWE crew were on his flight. He found out with those WWE crew on his flight that WWE was in Chicago. He rode with them to the arena. He made amends with The Miz. He wanted to talk to Triple H for a couple of minutes and say what he had to say. He felt like it was the best time to do that, being that he was there. He lives in Chicago, so it's not any sweat off his back to go there and do what he needs to do. And yet people are spinning this as, oh yeah, Punk, he wants to go back to WWE. He's showing interest in WWE. That may be true, but you don't know that. The only person that would know that when his time is over in AEW is CM Punk. But I respect CM Punk because this time off clearly has sat with him, and he's sat with his feelings, and he realizes what's most important now. You can't harbor this ill will for the Bucks, for Kenny Omega, for Adam Page, and everybody else that he doesn't like in AEW. You can't harbor this ill will with people that he didn't like in WWE. The comments he's made about The Miz and Triple H. He wants to apologize and let it be water under the bridge. CM Punk is showing you that he's the bigger man in all of this. And that is a respectable quality. And no matter what you think about CM Punk, he's trying to do the right thing. He wants to talk to the elite. He wants to talk to Adam Page. He wants things to be all right. He was told he can't. Lawyers, I'm sure, are involved. Don't talk to us. His lawyers, their lawyers, I don't know. But he wants to try. You gotta give him credit. And why Vince McMahon told him to get out? It's a liability to WWE. I'm sure Triple H would have talked to him. But how do you think Tony Khan's going to look at that? How do you think AEW is going to look at that? They didn't really think much of it. It wasn't really in the news about what they were thinking. But how do you think WWE is going to be perceived if Punk is back there talking to Paul Levesque? You don't think Tony Khan's already fucking on the phone thinking that Triple H is contract tampering with his number one star? I mean, that's a bad look for WWE. So that's why Vince McMahon kicked him out of the backstage area, and that's why he told him to get out, leave the building. It's not a good look for WWE. But at the end of the day, CM Punk backstage with WWE talent, I don't know why anybody's spinning this into more than it really is. He was there to apologize and there because he was on the same flight as these people who then he found out were working in his city. It's not that big of a deal, folks. Punk has time left on his AEW deal. He will be the star around AEW Collision on June 17th. He's not going anywhere. We got several more years of CM Punk in AEW. Whatever happens after his time in AEW, he may or may not be setting up for some amends with WWE for a potential run in the company after his time in AEW is over. We don't know that, but that should not be a narrative thrown around right now. So that's the reason why CM Punk was backstage during Monday Night Raw last night. It threw the internet for a frenzy, and I wanted to make sure you guys were covered right here on the show this afternoon. Please follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. If you enjoyed the content here today, please hit that thumbs up. And make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below and turn on the bell for notifications. If you guys want my thoughts on the WWE unveiling a new World Heavyweight Championship, there was an incredible monologue to open Monday Night Raw and the live stream last night. Make sure you guys go check that out all on the homepage right now if you guys missed that stream last night. Enjoy your Tuesdays, guys, and I'll see you back with more news right here on Off the Script.